This episode of Let's Talk Natural Medicine is brought to you by Lachlan Mullen, proud platinum partners of ATMS. Built on 50 plus years of healthcare experience and nutritional science, Lachlan Mullen delivers practitioner-only formulas, trusted by practitioners, loved by families.
Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Talk Natural Medicine, brought to you by the Australian Traditional Medicine Society. I'm your host, Natalie Hume, and today's episode we're going to focus on a topic that many men struggle with, but don't often discuss, and that is energy and stamina. Did you know that low energy levels and fatigue are amongst the most common complaints for men over 40? While aging and hormone changes can impact vitality, natural medicines and lifestyle adjustments can play a big role in supporting mental health, energy, and endurance. Joining us today to discuss natural ways to boost men's vitality is Lachlan Mullen, a naturopath with extensive experience in men's health. Thank you so much for joining us today, Lachlan.
Thanks, Natalie. I'm really excited to be talking about this important topic.
It is such an important topic, so maybe let's dive down a bit. Explain what are the common causes of low energy, stamina in men, and maybe how can that contribute to low mood?
I think a lot of this starts with what we see today is I see a lot of men who have a lot of stress. And stress is a big one because I'd say most of the population of men and women, but especially men, are under a lot of stress. They're trying to do everything. They're trying to support themselves. They're trying to support their family, work, really trying to put everyone first ahead of them. And there's so many high demands in life at the moment, with demands with work. The cost of living is putting a lot of strain on people, and it's takes its toll. And men will find themselves burnt out and exhausted, and that's going to immediately affect their stamina. But then from here, it has a domino effect, because when they're burnt out and exhausted and they're putting everyone else first, they don't find a time to exercise. They don't find a time to pick good options when they're eating, or they will emotionally eat something that's not good for them, but it's just they'll grab what's there and it'll make them feel good for a few seconds, and 10, 15 minutes later, they'll regret eating it because they don't feel great. So there's a lot of things, finding time to get outdoors and just do the right things for themselves, which will all affect that low energy.
Yeah, do you find that, I guess, the pressure of work these days, working longer hours, as well as not prioritizing maybe that family or connection time as well?
Definitely, and there's a lot of pressure, and a lot of men or people in professional environments, there's this competitiveness in there of who can work the hardest, who can do the most. And I think it's a mindset that does not go with a healthy lifestyle, because those things like family connection, spending time with your family, if they have kids, spending time with the kids, and being active with them and being outdoors, and this participating in life is being missed. And a big part of that is that men are in a constant fight and flight process, where fight and flight typically was hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago. It's supposed to be there for a few minutes of you get chased, or you have to run away from something, or you chase something, and it's there for a few minutes and it passes. And whereas doing it all day, every day, and this takes an absolute exhaustion on our adrenals, on our cortisol, and on health. This will affect stuff like sleep, which again dominoes into stamina and energy throughout the day. So all of these things a lot of it does come back to that work life.
And I guess, how did you get into this focusing on men's health? And I guess you're seeing a lot of men in clinical practice. What positive changes have you seen in some of your clients who incorporate, some of these natural therapies?
Well, I wanted to work with men's health because there's definitely an area that I know a lot of men need to gets looked at. And we know statistically that men are less likely to put their health first. They're less likely to go and seek natural therapies or complementary therapies and for their health. It's something that's a much bigger industry for women. So I really enjoy working with men because so often the simplest of things can have the most profound effects of how simple diet and lifestyle strategies that are not complicated can have such an influence on their energy, influence on their mood. And that's something I really enjoy doing and seeing when men come in. It's very common for men to come in, and it's the typical thing you hear, but it's the reality is, oh, what brings you in? Oh, my wife sent me. And okay, what's talking through if they have any sort of issues? Oh no, that's fine. Sort of digging deeper with questions, trying to figure out what's going on. Oh yeah, I've had reflux for about 20 years and I've been on medication for over 20 years. That never sort of came out of the first sort of question. They keep everything very close. They don't actually think about what's not normal. And I always say, just because something is common does not make it normal. So a lot of these issues are very common, but they should not be our normal. So simple diet and lifestyle strategies come back in 2 weeks and say, geez, I feel better, I have more energy, I'm sleeping better. And then they'll be motivated to do stuff like go for walks, go to the gym, because they're feeling better. So it's an area I really enjoy working with, and an area with, as I said, it's not complicated. It can often be very, very simple.
I love that. My wife told me to come and see you. It's all my partner. It's probably such a common thing they say.
When I studied, you'd hear that as a stigma, but when actually in practice, it happens more often than not. So it's quite funny.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you connect the dots once you get them talking. They don't realize that, you know, maybe we always as practitioners as well talk about bowel habits, toilet, things like that. Like they might not realize that not going to the toilet every day is not healthy. So you really need to open and question down, don't you?
Following that is only follow-up. So an example, I could have a guy who is aware of what's going on in the first appointment, but is saying, I feel, quote, I just want to feel better. I'm sick of feeling sick all the time, referring to their gut health. 2 weeks later, when they came in and they'd removed all of these bad foods and introduced a much more simpler, natural sort of diet, was, oh yeah, gut's good, everything's good. I'm like, so you feel happy? Yeah, I think I've had improvement. And like, let me just go back to like, this is what you exactly said last week of you was like desperate for better health. And then 2 weeks later, they've forgotten how they felt 2 weeks ago when they first came and saw me. So it's something, I guess, I more commonly see with men is just not really being aware of their symptoms, what they're feeling every day, or noticing when they do get better or worse. So being a bit out of tune with their bodies.
And you're a great reminder and a supporter, obviously, with them for that, which is excellent. So let's also now dive down into some maybe lifestyle habits that we can support for men's energy, stamina, and healthy mood. What would be some top recommendations that men can look at for this lifestyle stuff to improve their vitality?
I think first and foremost, for me, it always comes down to addressing diet and removing those harmful inflammatory foods like refined sugars, refined grains, inflammatory oils like vegetable oils, really removing those from our diet and replacing them with real food. I think that is first and foremost. And without dietary changes, the other things you're doing and you're not getting the most out of them because there's still inflammation happening in your body. You're still putting things in your body that you shouldn't. Following that, I find that men respond really well when they're ensuring they're having adequate protein and good quality fat in their diet, along with a range of plenty of fruits and vegetables for their phytonutrients. And that's what I say when it goes back to keeping it simple. It's just about eating real food. Men often will respond better with some sort of time-restricted eating or fasting. I find just throughout the week, having shorter eating times and that sort of thing, they can work really well for men. With men, we have testosterone, which allows us to be more compatible with time-restricted eating. And I guess you'll say women, that's a completely different story with how their hormones will change throughout the month. For men, it doesn't. So something like that, I find as a really good way to, if you're trying to remove inflammation from a diet, is having really good quality meals and a couple of meals, and then maybe a good way of having a same day with a really bad breakfast. Maybe we'll start the day a little bit later with lunch, and it's trying to get 2 good meals in to start with. And then keeping active, start with getting some sun in that morning, earlier morning, later afternoon when the sun's not as bright, making sure you're getting adequate sunlight, keeping active. And then that can build into more stuff like weight-bearing exercise, or if they want to go down more higher intensity exercise. But just start with the basics first is really fundamental. And of course, sleep hygiene, regular bedtime, devices off 30-60 minutes before bed, and really focusing on that sleep hygiene to get well rested, and they'll wake up feeling much better.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that good list. And you touched on a bit of foods and as well, but let's touch on maybe some herbs and nutrients that can really support the men's energy and stamina as well.
Yes. So starting with, I'm a naturopath, so I'm a herbalist, and there's so many fantastic herbs that can have adaptogenic effects, which is where we're supporting the body's adapting to building resilience to adapt to stress. There's great herbs like astragalus, there's Siberian and Panax ginseng, rhodiola, romani. We can also support cognitive health with men, of really supporting that cognitive function, improving the microcirculation, the blood flow into the brain with herbs like ginkgo, bacopa, gotcha cola. When we look at herbs for hormonal support, there's a big, I wouldn't say epidemic, but there's a lot of men these days that have very low testosterone for various reasons, and supporting their testosterone with herbs that build androgens, which are precursors to testosterone, like tribulus and tonkat ali. And their nutritional, there's plenty of great nutrients which you're going to get, like your B vitamins. Creatine is fantastic for the brain, and many amino acids. But then when we look back at diet, as I was saying, in terms of basic nutrition, if you're not eating well, is going to affect that as well. So making sure you're getting adequate protein for the energy throughout the day, sustained energy, and not having those spikes of sort of glucose spikes throughout the day, and your body trying to produce more insulin. So it's really, to me, it starts with diet. If you can, herbs and nutritional medicine is fantastic, but if not addressing the diet, then you're not getting the full effect of them. You need to start with the diet and then move into how can we supplement that to make it even more effective.
I love that. And do you find that men are commonly lacking by not eating enough protein? They are probably a bit more carby based, or yeah.
And if you have men who are working in a CBD, working in a eating lunch out, you're not going to typically get a good option with a good amount of protein or fat. It's probably going to be cooked in bad vegetable oils, have been fried. You have to remember when you're eating out or grabbing food on the go that all of these businesses in hospitality, they're struggling to make ends meet, and they're going to be using the cheapest ingredients they can in order to make a profit margin. So not only will it be cheap quality of produce, but it's also going to be in bad oils. So if you're not starting your day with a good breakfast and then you're eating out throughout the day, you're not going to be getting adequate nutrients at all, and you'd be lucky to hope that maybe you're having a good dinner. And that could be the third strike, and there's no real nutrient dense food throughout the day, or they might still get home and have a good dinner, and I'll say, well, that's at least you're having one good meal, let's work on the others.
Yeah, we've always got to start with the positive and then keep building up, don't you? And I'm glad you spoke about testosterone and hormones just before, because this is going to be my next question. I'm going to talk a little bit about, or I'd like you to answer, what fact or fiction is this question? And my question to you is: testosterone is the only hormone that affects men's energy and stamina.
Well, testosterone is a big one. Many men, as I mentioned, have low levels of testosterone at the moment. And when we look at that, why? We look at all of the plastics in our environment. These all have estrogenic effects. The clothes that we wear, everyone's wearing active wear with these fake materials. All of this is leaching plastics into our body. Again, more estrogenic effects affecting both men and women. So this is affecting our testosterone levels, amongst other things. If what part of it is weight-bearing exercise or just any sort of exercise, different foods we're eating. So there's a lot we're doing right now which is affecting testosterone levels, but it is not the only hormone that is affecting our stamina. Another one is cortisol, which is a hormone that's produced by adrenal glands and plays a crucial role in our response to stress. So as I mentioned at the very start, is how stressed everyone is. Everyone has very high cortisol. This influences various things like our metabolism, our immune function, our sleep and weight cycles. People aren't getting sleep because they're too stressed. So cortisol is a really important hormone. And another important hormone that I think really affects energy and how we're feeling is insulin, which is produced by the pancreas and plays a role in the facilitating the uptake of glucose. So it's managing our blood sugar. So when people are eating poorly, eating inflammatory food, lots of refined carbohydrates, which are turning into sugar, or eating lots of sugar, energy drinks, soft drinks, that's really affecting our body's use of insulin. And many men are having insulin resistance. You see many men have a lot of weight around their stomach. Type 2 diabetes is becoming more and more common every year. So all of these are having a big effect on our metabolism, on our energy, and they're not the only hormones. There'll be many others that are affecting our body, but they're definitely three of the big ones.
Do you find, you mentioned about men, a lot of men having that fat around their abdomen and the middle there. Do you find that that's then maybe affecting their muscle tone because they're not there, their hormones are out of whack, their muscle tone's low, they might not be doing that resistance exercise that you mentioned before. So it's kind of like this cascade effect.
Yes, it's definitely the domino effect. As sort of mentioned at the start of there could be many causes, first causes, but the cause, if you're looking at someone who is that really busy with work, that's going to domino into bad choices, is going to domino into not going to the gym and building the muscle tone, into developing insulin resistance, to developing really high cortisol, to having a reduction in testosterone. So it's affecting all three of those hormones right there, just from your lifestyle of a really bad work environment, could cascade into all of those things. So there's much more to it. It's really important to be making the right choices, and that's what I like to do in my role, is helping to educate and really empower my clients into making the right choices, because often they don't know where they are, and often, as I said, they're very simple. It can be very easy. They don't have to go and make these complex meals and different things. It can be really, really simple. And I always say, if it walks on the planet or grows on the planet and it's not refined, you can probably eat it. And that's a good way to sort of start, if it doesn't come in a packet, and sort of that principle and build from there, and however much you want to be creative with what you eat.
And maybe men need to get more into the kitchen or to the grocery aisles, right? That's to be involved and be a part of that.
Start reading labels of things.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, so for our men who are listening out there, what are some great ways or first steps that they can do to boost their energy, boost their vitality, and support healthy mood?
Well, a few of them I just touched on there. So I would say start focusing on what you're eating. Is this real food or is it processed? Does it walk on a planet? Does it swim in the ocean? or does it grow on the planet, or has it been processed to a refined version, or is it just not real food at all that comes in a packet? So start reading labels, as I just said to you. The big one I like to start people with is look at the ingredients, look at the labels and the percentage of everything. And when you're looking at something, don't look at per serve, because that serving size would not keep your toddler full. It'll be the absolute minimum to trick you. Look at per 100 grams, because then you actually know the percentage. Okay, so look at per 100 grams. If that's saying 30, 50 grams of sugars per 100 grams, that's 30% of what you're eating is sugar. 50% of what you're eating is sugar. Then start looking at the ingredients. If there's ingredients you don't recognize, you don't know what that word is, it's probably a bit of a red flag. If it's a number, this could be anything. We know that, for example, MSG has, last time I heard, it was 30 different numbers that can go under. It's even more. So think of all of these toxic preservatives, additives, they just hide them with numbers, and it can have multiple different numbers, so they're very hard to track. So finding foods, if you are grabbing something in a packet with the least amount of ingredients, is usually a good place to start. Making sure, as I said, you're getting adequate protein from good quality protein. So if you're looking at animal protein, you want to try to get grass-fed, grass-finished meat, because this changes the omega-6s in meat, and meat that's eaten, animals that have eaten grain have more inflammatory meat than animals that were grass-fed and grass-finished. And this is where a lot of people don't realize as well. Some animals be grass-fed, but 3 months before they go to the abattoirs, they fatten them up on grain. So to be grass-fed, grass-finished actually means they can eat grass all the way through before they go to the abattoir. Same with eggs. So when you crack an egg, you want that yolk to be orange, not yellow. If you get cracking eggs and it says you can buy organic eggs for a fortune, and when you crack them, they're pale yellow, and we're just telling you there they were organic eggs, and they've basically been eating organic grain their whole life. So when a chicken is foraging, when it's eating insects, bugs, moving around in pasture, it will get all of the fat-soluble vitamins. It's what you want from your egg. So you want your egg to be a dark, like golden orange color, and that's a sign of a fat-soluble vitamin. So making it right, when you are eating good quality protein, that's what I mean by good quality protein, of making sure it comes from a good source. Plenty of fruits and vegetables, organic always where possible, if it's possible, for those phytonutrients. And a big, really good place to start is get outdoors, start moving. So start with at least getting some more sunlight in your day, especially if you're in the office all day. The best time is first thing in the morning or late in the afternoon, because that also, not only is it the sun sort of not as strong, but it also helps with our circadian rhythm, which is basically our sleep cycle. So our body knows when it's morning, it knows when it's night, and it will help with your sleep. And when you're in an office and the lights are on at the same white light all day, your body thinks it's midday the entire day and can't regulate. Building up from there, then more exercise is great, walking, getting out in nature, hiking, or if you want to do more weight-bearing exercise, higher intensity exercise, it's all fantastic. Grounding, getting on grass, getting on dirt, getting on sand barefoot, and letting your body sort of being in touch with the earth, it really helps with sort of that electrical connection with the earth as well.
I love that. Thank you for that, because I'm sure so many listening to this will be working, in an environment with lots of artificial light. So I love those little tips that you gave as well. Thank you so much for sharing all of this about men's health and how they can improve their energy, stamina, and support mood as well. Thank you again, Lachlan, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me on. I really enjoyed it.
And thank you to our listeners for tuning in for this episode of Let's Talk Natural Medicine. Now, if you're looking for an accredited practitioner, please visit atms.com.au and find a practitioner. Also, be sure to sign up to our Friends of Natural Medicine newsletter for more wellness tips and natural remedies. So let's just wrap up with a couple of quick wins to boosting men's energy and stamina. Prioritize restful sleep. So I think we said no devices, 30 minutes to 1 hour before bed. Incorporating whole foods, and also start to increase physical activity. Until next time, take care and stay naturally well.
Join us again by following us for more uplifting discussions on natural medicine and holistic well-being. And if today left you inspired, share the love with a 5-star review. It helps others on their wellness journey find us too.